Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to this presentation about the challenges facing the enterprise mobility and how the 4G LTE will help helping resolving these kind of challenges. Before we start, let me introduce myself first and talk a little bit about my background. My name is Ahmed Manafa, and I'm a faculty, I'm an author and speaker, and I have 3 years experience with the Internet of Things, which is going to be the heart of what we are talking about this morning. We will try to gather all the pieces about enterprise mobility, 4G, LTE, and the Internet of Things, and try to see if we can find some kind of explanation how each and every one of them is a part of a big machine that will help the businesses progress, the businesses communicate, the businesses do their work, their job faster, cheaper, and easier. Before we start, let me share this statement with you, and I would like to know, how many of you will agree with that. And after we finish, I will revisit this again, and we will see if we approve or disprove this statement. Enterprise mobility plus 4G LTE equals to Internet of Things. At the first moment when you see this kind of equation, you're going to ask yourself this kind of statement. You're going to say, okay, wait a minute. Before we go further there, let's try to understand every component, every variable of this equation, every variable or every part of this statement, and then we can see if we add 2, we can get the third one. To really understand why I'm putting this on the screen and why I'm challenging people to think about it, I need to identify each component. What is enterprise mobility? What is it about? Why it's even an issue? Why enterprise mobility is an important factor, an important trend, an important technology that we should talk about it, we should explore it. Enterprise plus mobility. Those are the two terms. So the simplest definition we can find for enterprise mobility is the set of people, process, and technology. They focus on few things. They focus on mobile devices, wireless network, and other mobile computing services in the business context. So we're talking about staff, we're talking about processing or processes and the people we use, and we're talking about the technology used to manage whatever access points you have here, including the mobile devices, any kind of devices that will connect you to the wireless network of the enterprise, all of them under one umbrella, the business context here. So once we have this definition in our mind, it's easy for us to go to the next level and say, okay, the next level is talking about the connectivity issue here. What is it, and why we have to worry about it? What is 4G LTE? What does that mean? It's a very simple term. We use it all the time. You see it on your phone, and it's easy to comprehend the meaning of the 4G, the fourth generation of the wireless technology, and also the LTE, which is the long-term evolution of that. Simply, it is 10 times the speed of the 3G devices. So if you have a phone, if you have an Android or an iPhone, and if you're using the 3G, now you jump to the 4G, you can see the difference in speed and processing, and it all depends on many things. It all depends on many things here. Those devices becoming so smart, that's now become an access point. We don't look at them as a phone, we look at them as access point, where I can download, everything from text to videos to presentations to everything I have here. Now, how is that will fit with the perspective or the picture? Somebody in the enterprise is looking at this technology and say, okay, I need the mobility in my enterprise, in my organization, in my company. Why should I even consider something like the 4G as my vehicle to do something like that? The availability, and I'm gonna touch on that one more. Availability with the 4G all over the place. I have a statement about the 4G and the relationship between the 4G and LTE and the enterprise mobility. I believe that the 4G LTE is the soul of the enterprise mobility. Without it, without having this connectivity, this vehicle, this network which is available with all the data going back and forth, what we're going to have beautiful devices in our hands. Just dead, cold devices that has no life. But because we have this, the 4G, and it's given us all the capability of sending and receiving and moving around and not being bounded by time or place, that kind of advantage given to us make this kind of technology as the best candidate when we talk about enterprise mobility. And we have the proof for that. I mean, we have the proof for that. If you look at the numbers, the statistics for the global digital statistic is staggering. When you talk about 7.3 billion people living on this planet, 3.1 of them active on the internet, 2.2 they are social media users, and 3.7 they have access to the mobile devices there, whether it's through the 4G, 3G, but they have access to that. About 2 billion of them, they are really the people who are using the 4G LTE services. Why? Because they have the smartphones, they have the applications that needed this kind of a power for them, a bandwidth for them to, and the devices have the processors that will deal with this powerful network. So when I'm talking about, okay, I am in an enterprise and I would like to find some kind of a medium for me, some kind of technology that I can use to bring the enterprise mobility dream of my company up and make it true without any glitches, without any problems, without worrying about all the complications that comes with new technologies or existing technologies, and do it in a faster way, cheaper way, because this is what I'm looking for. That's going to give me the competitive advantage. That's going to make it easy for me to expand, easy for me to open new branches, to settle from one place to the other, to communicate with my employees anytime, anywhere. With this kind of technology, it's easy for us to see that the availability of the devices, the availability of technology will make it the best candidate. Now, before I jump to the different descriptions and the different challenges and different advantages, disadvantages of having both the enterprise mobility and the 4G LTE, I need to define the third term, which is the other side of the equation, which is the Internet of Things. I think everybody in this crowd heard about the Internet of Things. It's one of the hottest trends in the technology. Everybody's talking about it. A lot of companies are, startups are really funded to achieve a level of visibility there. Big names, without mentioning names, are really technically fighting for that piece of the market which represents the Internet of Things. Internet of Things is a very interesting concept. It's in front of us, but we couldn't describe it before. Now we have a term for it. So if I'm trying to describe what is the Internet of Things, I can use simple definitions. One of them is the network of physical objects that access to the Internet. So this is my first condition. And these objects contain some kind of technology to interact with the internal state or external environment of that object. And the object can sense and communicate. It changes and how and where decisions are made and who will make those decisions for the device. So I go to the mall, I go to the bank, I go everywhere. I have devices connected to the Internet, and those devices using Wi-Fi, using other technologies, using 4G, LTE, using all of them having that kind of connectivity. So they are representing this definition because they're physical and they're connected to the Internet. So when I'm thinking about it, the only difference here is that I'm using the devices that belong to the enterprise to connect it to the Internet and use the power of the cloud to process this kind of information or data coming to me and then forward it to the enterprise in a format of decision-making, reports, dashboard, anything. So you can see that the Internet of Things can be represented by the marriage or when you combine both the enterprise mobility and the 4G LTE. When you combine them, you can see, you can feel, you can understand the Internet of Things here. I go to the ATM machine. I go to a store, and then I use my card, and I look there, and I see that this network is using, or this device is using some kind of communication, wireless communication here. And when I ask that person, okay, somebody there, what kind of communication there, they don't care about it. Well, what's important for them is it's working, it's available, it's easy to install, it is for me done in one day. All what I'm going to do is just install the devices, hook up the network, and I'm done with it. And this is what the enterprise is looking for. They don't waste time about having, some kind of a landline, communications, all these kind of networking, cabling. They need something which is quick, something that will make it easy for them to install, test, replace, and make sure that it's working whenever they need it. Now, we're going to look a little bit on the background about the Internet of Things, because it's very exciting to talk about it, and there are so many conferences mentioning the Internet of Things and how big is the market. There are a lot of studies. One of them, you can see that on the screen. It's by 2020, there are about 50 billion devices we're talking about. We're talking about 50 billion connected devices that have had an IP address that can be defined and be connected to the cloud and processed by the big data analytics tools we have to help the enterprise make decision about it. I will go and, I will have all these points of sales, all these points of ATMs, all these points of sensors, cameras, everything there. And then all of them will come to this central device, and that device will have, and the cloud will have all this processing and give it to me. And that's what I'm looking for here as in the enterprise. I would like this kind of information available for me. And the soul of this is the 4G LTE, because we already have that, and we have the carriers there that handle it and do it in an excellent way. We have it available everywhere. So when I make a decision about it, I know that I can rely on the whole cycle of the process. How they will all get together, that will be the next question. After having that equation saying that the enterprise mobility at the top of that one, the 4G LTE, I'm going to get the Internet of Things, and I can tell you that this is the Internet of Things because I can explain the whole cycle from the sensor, from the object, all the way to the cloud, and then then the report that's given to me. I like this slide because it's really explain the whole concept of the Internet of Things reference model here. And I don't want to go through the technical details about it because you can see that one clearly in front of you. What you can see here from the physical to the connectivity, you can see where is the connectivity here. The connectivity here is where the 4 LTE here comes to the picture. It's the minute you leave the device, the minute you leave the object, the controller, the devices, you hit that, that connectivity. All the way goes to the edge computing, and then the data, accumulation and abstraction, application, collaboration. All these things will be done through that kind of model here. So there is a place for it in the model of the Internet of Things. And if you took any basic classes in networking, you know that this is similar to the OSI model, which has 7 layers, and each one of them has its own, advantages, disadvantages, and devices and protocols related to that. And this is like the mirror image of this one in the Internet of Things. And I can see and I can point at where the 4G LTE will play a big role when it comes to connectivity here. And without it, you cannot go up. Without it, you cannot do anything after that, because you have to have this kind of connectivity before you go to the rest of the layers here and present the information so it can be processed, can be monitored, can be used to generate reports, give information to make smart decisions, and so on. Some examples. And the next slide will give you some prime examples about the applications for such combination here. Enterprise mobility is an organization. They use them for business transactions. They use them for messaging and collaboration. They use them for customer-centric applications, online, getting banking online, getting information, the interface with the customers, management reporting and dashboards, unified communications among all the devices, the social media applications that the corporate are using, and interestingly, the HR application, the workflow here, which is one of the applications. So if you look at something like this and you say, okay, so I can use the enterprise mobility to do all this and get all the results here using the enterprise mobility based on what? Based on the existing infrastructure, which is the 4G LTE, because all of them here, business transaction is, I'll go to one of the malls there and I will swipe my credit card through one of the machines there. That one is using this kind of connectivity. The same thing with messaging and collaboration. And if you follow the lines here, you're going to see what is the currently used, what they looking or planning to do, in the coming years here. And it's a big thing about messaging, business transactions, health services, some kind of public works like the police or, communications. All these things is part of looking at the enterprise mobility as one of the biggest applications when we use the devices, the right devices, when we use the right connectivity, when we use the right applications to get the information. Something to quantify the process here. The enterprise mobile applications is about $100 billion, dollars market opportunity. The reason for this one, because we have the devices and we have the need from the enterprises or the organizations. We need the applications that will take advantage of the existing infrastructure, existing communications, and existing devices, and the need of the organization, so we can get this up and running. So that's a big, huge market here, and we will see later on that how we can deal with something like that. To be an opportunity for organizational transformation, the case of anytime, anywhere access to information and realization of the business benefits. Number one, customer service will improve because you have a quick decisions. The employee satisfaction will be high because they can get the information anytime, anywhere. And the new business opportunities for you, which means if I have a business opportunity to be somewhere as a business to expand or, have communication with partners or have merger or have some kind of partnership with another company, then I don't have to go through the hassles of building the mobility, building the infrastructure for communication. It's a matter of using the 4G LTE, which exists with the big names in the market, using the devices that some of the companies will give you this kind of input devices, access devices, and the applications, and you're done. And that's a big market because it's easy to assemble, it's easy to maintain, it's easy to monitor here, and the outcome is tremendous. Employee satisfaction is up, customer service is up, new business opportunities are more. You reduce the operating costs here. There's all of them are drivers, crucial driver to implement the enterprise mobility, across the industry. And this is what I meant by when I say 4G LTE is the soul of the enterprise mobility. Just imagine that you don't have that speed of the 4G LTE and you are still using the devices there. It's going to be really a hassle. It's not going to be something the employees will be excited about it. The customer's not going to be excited about it. The management not going to be excited about it because there is no enough bandwidth to process, to send, to receive the data here. But once we have this kind of a 4G LTE network available, and it's all over the place, and I'm talking about international, not just in the United States, then this enterprise mobility concept is easy to implement. Money will prove that, because if you look at something like this, the enterprise mobility services by mobile service providers as an annual revenue here goes all the way from last year with the prediction that it's going to skyrocketing in the 2020 compliances and the cloud web filtering from mobile devices management, a big field here. Talking about Wi-Fi as a service, it's a big thing because I heard about some of the services like one-day internet, which is people would have a conference, I have some kind of gathering, then they can have this kind of service available for them right away instead of overloading the existing network, or it's in a place where they cannot get permission because of the network of the place where they're staying. So this availability of the enterprise mobility make it easy for the businesses to move around, to provide their services, to demo what they have. Why? Because of the availability of the 4G LTE. And I'm going to leave you a little bit with this screen because you can see that how far this can go to billions and billions of dollars. And it's whoever in the market now understand the customer needs, understand that have the devices, and have the availability or the agreement with the current providers of the 4G LTE. That company or that company, the companies will do that one will have this kind of profit, will have this kind of market share. It's easy to see the money is there for them to take. As of today, the enterprise mobility management and the 4G LTE here, as of today, it's very important to understand that concept. Bringing all these pieces together in one diagram will make it easier for us to see the big picture here. And I'm a big fan of the next slide because the next slide will show us the relationship between the different components of the enterprise mobility and the 4G LTE. I'll give you a second to look at it and try to extract the different components here. And I don't have to spend that much time explaining to you where I can have the connectivity as a big player in this here. And the applications and the activities and the devices and the kind of protocols, the businesses. And if you look at it, you'll realize, quickly that this is what we have here. This is what we have when it comes to the availability of the enterprise mobility here and the 4G LTE. Sensors and controller types, I will provide all this one back to the enterprise, back to the businesses, back to them so they can analyze it, gather all this information. They need some kind of existing infrastructure. They need that network, and had to go through certain protocols. Those protocols are including the apps, including the existing protocols we have in the market here. But this line between the sensor controllers and the protocols and the business or the enterprise here is a critical line where it's separated the rest of the world for the enterprise. And without having a medium or an infrastructure or a service like the 4G LTE, then it's not going to be possible to provide all this stream of information correctly, on time, secured to the enterprise so the enterprise can make decisions, especially if we're talking about what kind of domain they are working. It's medical, industrial, retail, whether it's logistics, whatever domain they are in, and what kind of activities it is. Are you controlling that activities? Are you measuring the activities here? What is it? What kind of activities we have that you're reporting back to the enterprise? Again, it is the soul of the enterprise mobility, and that's why this diagram will cut in half, and there is no connection between the two parts here if we don't have a service like the 4G. Three pillars of the enterprise mobility success. And if you spend a few seconds trying to understand the relationship between the three pillars here, it's going to be clear to you that where is the critical one, where is the critical part of this. Is it the mobile platform? Is it the mobile go-to-market expertise, the skills, the global orientation, which is the existence of this kind of network here, for you to have an enterprise mobility system or infrastructure? All of them will play a certain number here, but you need to have a platform. You need to have a mobile platform first before you can go to the the expertise and then look at the existence of that platform in different places, in different countries. So in order for me to think about this one and say, okay, I would like to have that policy or that plan or that implementation, I have to look at all of this. And once I have that, it's easy for me to move on to the next stage. We talk about the good stuff. We covered the good stuff here. Now we're going to talk about the challenges. We're going to talk about what are the problems, advantages, disadvantages that's facing the enterprise mobility here. And it's good to see it from that perspective. The reason for this is The whole concept of looking at something and say everything is perfect, what is missing? And it's a good way of solving that problem by knowing exactly what's the problem. One of the biggest problem of the enterprise mobility here and the fear that of people keeping people from implementing the enterprise mobility is the list is here. The thing about network access control, accountability of the end user, the cost, the business use justification for that, and also what kind of compliance requirements I have to satisfy, the workforce demographics, how many of them really, tech savvy that you can use the devices in a way that's not going to hurt the business, and bring your own device program, the loss of data. All these things will be concerned that will cloud the whole decisions that a company will make about the enterprise mobility. But at the same time, there are so many advantages, that we mentioned about it. Anytime, any place. Time and space means nothing when you are using the enterprise mobility. It's nothing. It's gone. So you can be contacted any place and any time. And you can conduct your services. You can contact your customers. You can do it anytime, at any place, without any boundaries. But there's so many things associated with this, like the mobile application management has to be also done correctly. The mobile device management, another issue here. The other thing is talking about, connectivity management, which is something, related to the 4G LTE here. The content here, when you talk about the secure content management, with security a big thing, and also the expenses related of deploying something like this. Those all are challenges, factors that will impact the decision of going, ahead and implementing the enterprise mobility. All of these things all of the list are questions that are valid questions people will ask and will say, okay, how can I deal with something like this? How can I overcome all the fears I have here? I summarize all of what we have seen in the 3 C's: cost, complexity, and corporate data security. So as enterprises' use of the mobility become increasingly complex, the requirement to protect data, support user, will be more complex too. The primary challenges we are facing is the cost of deploying something like this, from the access point all the way to the running through the 4G LTE to the cloud processing down to the enterprise and back again through the same route to the access point to give a decision about process this credit card, don't process it, receive, not receive. That will be something we have to think about, the challenge. With the advancement of technology, the cost of the whole cycle here from A to Z, from the sensor back to the sensor, is going down. And this is credit to the advance in technologies, and all of us know that any kind of technology over time, the price goes down, because of so many people are, using it. So many companies are manufacturing that one, so that will be another one. Dealing with how complex is that, and that's when you need the planning. That's when you need the expert. That's when you need people who know exactly how to deploy it, how to deal with the different aspects of the mobility and the 4G LTE, for example. What is good, what is bad. If this is a good, location, which one you should have, where you're going to put that device, what kind of devices, what kind of level of the devices you have. It's not talking to somebody who has an expertise in routers and asking that person, okay, what is the best, router for me? Then the question will be, what is the list of your needs? Give me what you have, your requirements, and I can finish that one in a good way. And the biggest one, which is the biggest problem any corporate are facing and fear of, is the security. How would I guarantee that the security of my data flying, going through the air there, going through the wireless waves here from the access point to the cloud back to me and then go back to the sensor is really secure? What kind of guarantees, what kind of steps taken to make sure that it is really secure? Those are 3 C's that keep in mind when you are talking about enterprise mobility, and how can we deal with that? Now, for me to be fair over this, because we're talking about both the enterprise mobility and the 4G LTE here, for each one of them, for each one of the 3 Cs, the 4G will have an answer. The cost here, there is an answer for this one when you use that technology. How complex is that one? There is an answer with this one with the different availabilities of user interface, the dashboards, and the security provided by such technology, from encryption to authentication and authorization, all of the levels of the security provided by this kind of technology. What we should expect, what we should look for in the future when we're talking about the enterprise mobility management, if you want to know what's the third end here. The future for that one is going up. That's the only thing about it. And this diagram is really touching on some of the concepts until 2020. I mean, the things I can tell you about this diagram is very simple here. By 2020, there is, and just to explain to you what this diagram about is, the upper one is talking about enterprise mobility adoption. The lower one is talking about the mobile and how they merge together and help the enterprise achieve their goals anytime, any place, any customers, any employee. By 2020, there's some kind of prediction that it's going to be $140 billion a year market for the enterprise mobility. And within that, 2017, there's about 25% of all enterprise are expected to adopt their own app store by 2017. That means they have to use the enterprise mobility so people can download that one to their devices. And this can be done if you have a strong connectivity service given to you. $40 million revenue, and this is in 2016. That's the expectation for that. And by 2020, there's about 30, billion devices will be connected. And when we talk about connected here, we're talking about, an IP based here, and about, 1.3 billion by the end of this year, 2015, will be the mobile workers. We call them the mobile workers, which is you have your employees, you have your, going around using their mobile devices. Doesn't matter what that device to communicate, to conduct the job here. The same thing for the businesses. The businesses are relying more and more on the devices that are connected to a wireless network to do a lot of their transactions, to do a lot of communications, instead of having something which has to be hardwired here and cost them a lot when it comes to the communication. So this is a very interesting diagram that will show you how they merge and how they support each other, and how $140 billion for 30 billion devices by 2020. And any company, and I'm saying this one more time, any company that will take advantage of this kind of trend by providing, any piece of the whole cycle, whether it's the sensors, the devices, in the stores, the devices, in places like the mall, devices, in hospital devices, cameras, whatever you mention it, the place of business here. And at the same time, you're talking about providing the network connectivity here, the wireless network connectivity, all the way to the apps that will deal with this data and process this data and present this data to the businesses in a way where they can make decisions. Those companies will gain a big share in the market. And a lot of big companies, they see that, they understand that, and there are a lot of partnerships going around in the valley, in the Silicon Valley, about different companies just to be, ready for this wave and to ride this kind of trend. Specific example of what is coming. Enterprise-focused app development becomes so obvious for the smooth work and access. In this case, you're talking about taking advantage of a wide bandwidth, a bandwidth that will allow the media, talking about all levels, which is text, video, speech, voice, whatever you have this one, playing videos, using the 4G LTE here. The apps now, when they develop the apps, they develop them in a way where the devices itself, doesn't matter what kind of device you have on the other side, will not feel that there is a bottleneck for sending this information. So developing these kind of enterprise-focused app is now becoming easy. Why? Because we know that we can process that information. We can send it and receive, and receive the reply or receive the signals back easily without any problems with the connectivity. The other one is the security, which is identity and access management. Big one here. This is this trend which give the authority or access for the users. For me, as a company that will be dealing with my customers through the wireless devices, dealing with my employees through wireless devices, I'm really concerned about how secure is that and who is holding that device, who's using that that access point as a customer or as an employee. Who's that person? Having this kind of management of the identity and access is really crucial. From one-time sign-on to adaptive access control and privacy. I have seen it in some of the specifications. The 4G LTE is there. It's giving you this kind of advantage. Interesting application, which is mobility managed services, which is sometimes they have something called Wi-Fi, as a service, or mobility as a service, which if I need something for a certain time, I need connectivity as a business for a certain time, then I contact that company. That company will give me the devices, will give me the connectivity to the 4G LTE, and then I'm up and running. And after I finish my event, after I finish my project, then I'm done with it. So that's another market here, and that market is loved and shared by so many of the companies. Why? Because they don't have to deal with what next after buying all these devices. It is one of those trends we have, which is as a service, X as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service. All of these things are part of this trend. Now we're talking about Wi-Fi as a service, mobility as a service, and the 4G LTE is here to help with that, because it's everywhere. It's available everywhere. All what you're going to do is find the right company, and that company will help you set up everything for the time you'd like that service to be available, for the level of the service, how many points you need, how many devices you need, and how many people you're expecting, what kind of bandwidth you are looking for. And this is why when we talk about mobility as a service as the next wave in this kind of business. Security and risk. Security and risk is very important. When we talk about it, we're talking about a single access here, or adaptive access, where the level of the encryption, the level of the authentication will go up and down based on where you're located. Are you close to a safe point where we know that this point is really verified and it's safe, or it is somewhere where it is not safe? It's a place where you look at it and say, okay, I have to be careful about it, so I increase the level of the encryption. I need some kind of verification, double verification, something that to make sure that person is the person he or she claims here. Collaboration and content, dealing with different devices. And when I talk about devices, I'm not talking about just the phones or the tablets. I'm talking about something like the credit card readers, talking about ATM machines, talking about devices that on cars. All these things, the collaboration here is a paramount in this case, and we call them the edge devices here. It's different from dealing with desktop, fixed, wired. You know exactly, you have the IP address of that when you're done with it. Updating, synchronization is needed, on a continuous basis here. Do you think 4G LTE will help? Yes, it's going to help because it's played a lot of role. It's already being tested in the consumer market. I mean, the 4G LTE being tested so badly with the consumers, with millions and millions of people using the technology, abusing the technology itself, and in different devices with different specifications, with different processing, and still manage to go up and running without any glitches. And that's why there is a big motivation for using it in the enterprise mobility, because we already tested in the battlefield here. The last one is talking about the infrastructure. When we talk about the infrastructure, we are talking about the availability here. The main challenges are the network design. When we talk about this, we're not talking about something which is like wired, the WAN, or I'm talking about the wireless. where does that exist, and how you manage it, and how you control it, and how you diagnose that if something happens. Very important to have a smooth layout and check the possibility where you can make infrastructure seamlessly. And this is not difficult, because if you drive around, you're going to see a lot of those towers that support this kind of technology, the 4G LTE. So for knowing exactly that the infrastructure is there and the connectivity is there, all what you need is just make sure that you are dealing with the applications that will serve your business and gather that information, process that information, and give you the report by the end of the day. And I'm going back to the same equation I started with, which is, and let me go through that one very quickly, because I want to make sure that we are really on the same page here. Enterprise mobility plus the existing 4G LTE is Internet of Things on a small scale. The small scale, why? Because it is connecting the smart or the access point or the edge devices to the cloud and process it there and send it to the business. And this is the definition of the Internet of Things, which is gathering the information from the physical object. And those objects is really will send you instructions based on their status, based on what's going on at that part and at their own site. And then you can make a decision about it. Approve it, disapprove it, connect it, disconnect it. It depends on what's going on with this. Going back to the last slide here, and then moving to the next one. Any questions from the crowd here? I have a few questions that they sent it to me, and I would like to answer them, because I selected a few questions with them. I have only about 3 minutes to go. So the first question I have here is, where do you see big data analytics playing role in the the whole picture here of enterprise mobility and 4G LTE and Internet of Things? The engine of processing, the engine of getting that data, the engine of generating this kind of information is the big data analytics. And it's huge in the market. There are so many tools, open source tools, that a lot of companies use this one, because once you send that information to the cloud, you're talking about sending this to an application that will process it. And that application will use the analytics because of the big data, because there's so many points of contact we have with the customer, so many of contact we have with the employees. We'll use the tools of the big data to give you some intelligence, to look at some patterns there, to analyze some of the trends, and then you can get that information. It'll take you months and years to go through that, but with the use of the big data analytics, it's easy for the companies to add that trend or that technology or that piece in the whole picture here. We're talking about cloud computing, we're talking about mobility, we're talking about big data analytics. Those three, when they come together, magic happens. And that's the thing about enterprise mobility as an application of that magic, as an application of that kind of services here. And Internet of Things, as we know it, can be understood, can be realized, can be shown in this kind of merging between enterprise mobility and services like 4G LTE. I think I ran out of time, so thank you very much for listening, and I hope you got some kind of insight to the enterprise mobility challenges and how 4G LTE help in avoiding that. Thank you so much, and have the rest of your morning. Enjoy it, and